Hi everyone and welcome to Group 15's International Business Plan. Our group consists of LeFlore, Yesenia, Ponce, and Dennis Praire. In this presentation, we will be talking about expanding Dion's to Canada. We're going to be looking at two things, the feasibility and the entry plan. For the feasibility, we're going to cover the history of expansion Dion's already has and their flexibility. They have multiple locations throughout New Mexico, and they've also been able to expand to Texas and Colorado as well. Their menu items like pizza, subs, and salads, we already know that those work well in Canada, and we're going to be open to changing the menu if necessary to fit those consumers' needs. We're also going to cover their support for local organizations and how that's going to help them establish themselves better with the people in Canada. As for our entry plan, we knew that we wanted to go to Canada because they have a shared language and there's cultural similarities. Sticking to that idea of Canada being similar, we want to go to a city that's about the same size as Albuquerque so we can replicate that success. We know what we're working with. Another thing is that we're going to avoid franchising. We want to use expat managers, not only to ensure consistent operations, but for our values to be carried over there as well and really be implemented. Okay, so let's take a look at Dion's background. Dion's is a privately owned restaurant group that was founded in 1978. As I've previously mentioned, they've expanded into Colorado and Texas already. Some of the things they do is that they create employment opportunities specifically for younger people, and they focus on local charities as well. Some more background on Dion's would include their core values. They have the typical restaurant ones like having great food, fast and friendly service, having a clean and comfortable location, which they do really well, but two that I want to highlight are be excellent and win together. For be excellent, they want continuous improvement and excellent. They care about resourcefulness, kindness, hard work, and that their employees enjoy working there. As for Win Together, they want to support not only their employees, but their community and help them grow. They care about sharing knowledge, setting and achieving goals, and celebrating success. These are the types of things we want our expat managers to take over with them to Canada, something a franchise might not be able to replicate exactly or create that environment that well. Dion's actually has pretty good potential to move into Canada. They have a history of expansion already throughout the state of New Mexico and nearby states as well, not to mention that Canada is a good fit culturally and economically. Something else is that they operate their business with a focus on giving back to the community. We have a little example from their website. Under community support, they explain that Dion's is committed to positively impacting the communities we serve and strives to be a trusted partner to foster youth development. These types of things will help build goodwill in the host country and make consumers want to support them. Another thing is that their margins on takeaway pizza and subs in Canada are pretty good, so Dion's wouldn't have to change how they operate all that much, if at all. And lastly, there's opportunities to convert existing restaurant spaces into Dion's instead of having to build from the ground up. Let's take a look at some of the pros. To begin, their menu is versatile and easy to cater to local taste. Another one would be when we focus on training team members that are local, it will add to the local economy as well. It's a low barrier to entry for jobs, and while we weren't wanting franchises, there is opportunity to franchise, and this will help people on their pathway to business ownership. It helps with economies of scale, and there's a shared risk between the franchisee and the franchisor. While there's pros, there's also going to be cons. For example, there's low success rates of restaurants in general, so even though Dion's is a pretty well-established restaurant, there's still going to be some risk. Another con is that the distance from the home base. They have experience expanding throughout New Mexico into nearby states, but they're going to be skipping over several states on the way to Canada. Some of the issues that might come up are long-term sustainability, things like their funding, economic impacts, and societal attitudes, things that they can't really control. There's also the impact on small businesses, things like pricing, competition, and the limited supplier options. Another con is seasonal variations. It's not the same or something that they're used to already, so there will be some adjustments there. We've reached the conclusion of the feasibility part of our presentation, and I just wanted to reiterate some of the points we've made. For example, Dion's current business model is built on expansion, and while there's risk with any restaurant operation, the Canadian expansion will have the benefit of capital and experience from our home country. Another thing is that the menu is easy to export and easy to customize. And lastly, international expansion will be a good opportunity for Dion's. It will just need to be carefully managed, especially while it's first starting out. To begin our entry plan, we're going to start by looking at possible locations. We chose cities that have similar populations or population density, since it'll match what Dion's is already successful in. Looking at Vancouver, it's closest in population size, but it has a higher population density. On the other hand, Edmonton has similar population density, but almost twice as many people. And lastly, Winnipeg is the closest in both population and population density. We are going to focus on Winnipeg and its opportunities because it's so similar in size and population density. Something about Winnipeg is that it has a history of hosting Hollywood productions, so there's already a higher level of cultural exchange already in place. Another thing to note is that Winnipeg is geographically closer to the US and Canada border. Moving on to their menu and some adjustments that might have to be made, we can look at their base menu offerings like pizza, subs, salads, their ranch dressing. These shouldn't have any issues appealing to the communities in Canada. But some of the menu items like green chili might have to be reduced due to the cost of import, but there's the opportunity to replace them with other similar local ingredients. Next, we're looking at evaluating franchising. While franchising would be an easier way to extend into Canada, it would require to give up some control. Franchisees may not uphold company values in the same way, and the product might be difficult to replicate without more direct involvement. It will also cause Dion's to lose the opportunity for cultural exchange and help their employees grow in that way. If Dion's does decide to go for the franchise option to expand, some of the possible locations include pizzerias like closed down Pizza Huts, Papa John's, other mom and pop restaurants. On that same note, there's vacant restaurant spaces or vacant Italian restaurants they could move into. There's also college campuses, old diners, bakery spaces, and other retail spaces they could utilize to minimize their costs and expenses when moving into Canada. If Dion's decides to go with expat managers, it would ensure the consistency of the product, training, and company values. The restaurants are also built on training staff into leadership positions, so eventually the Dion's and Canada's will be managed by locals. Not to mention that the direct management means there's going to be consistent support and capital from the parent company, which will increase their chances of success. Let's move on to the market analysis. Some of the key players and competitors for pizza would be Pizza Pizza and Boston Pizza. For subs, it would be Mr. Sub and Quiznos, and for salads, it's Freshie and Chopped Leaf. If we're looking at the market size, there's an estimated worth of over 89 billion Canadian dollars annually, which includes fast food, casual dining, fine dining, and cafes, so there's money to be made in this category. Some of the growth trends include urbanization, changing demographics, and an increased demand for convenience. Continuing with our market analysis, people want things like healthy options. Dion's provides this through fresh ingredients, locally sourced produce, and being able to customize their menu depending on location. And along those lines, there's seasonal influences that Dion's will be able to incorporate seasonal ingredients and dishes. Being adaptable makes it so they're more fresh and sustainable. There's also the convenience factor. Quick service restaurants and delivery services surged in demand with the need for on-to-go meals and hassle-free dining, which is something that Dion's also does. Let's take a look at the competitive landscape and do a SWOT analysis on their Competition. So first up is Pizza. Some of their strengths include having an established brand presence, and they have a wide range of menu options, and they also have a delivery network. For their weaknesses, it is fast food with limited customization, and they rely on traditional marketing. As for their opportunities, they can expand to healthier options, enhance their online ordering, and reach a larger market. Some of the threats they have are intense competition and changing customer preferences. For Boston Pizza, their strengths include having a diverse menu, not just pizza. They have a sports bar atmosphere and a really strong franchising model. The weakness for Boston Pizza is their high price point. They have a limited focus on delivery, and the service quality varies. Some of the opportunities Boston Pizza has is menu innovation, a loyalty program, and expanding into new markets. The threats Boston Pizza has is a saturated market. They have competition from other local pizzerias and food costs. Then we have Mr. Sub. So the strengths are Canadian brand identity. They have fresh ingredients and a customizable menu. Their weaknesses include a limited market presence, inconsistent quality across locations, and a less diverse menu. They have opportunities for menu expansion, marketing campaigns, and they can target local advertising as well. The threats Mr. Sub has is intense competition, changing customer preferences, and operational challenges as well. Some other competitors Dion's will have is Quizmos, Freshie, and Chop Leaf. Quizmo's strengths include having toasted subs, flavor variety, and a focus on premium ingredients. Their weaknesses include a declining market share, past bankruptcy issues, and franchisee dissatisfaction. Some opportunities they have are menu innovation, expanding into emerging markets, and digital marketing initiatives. Their threats include intense competition, economic uncertainty, and healthier options. Next up, we have Freshie, and their strengths are a health-focused menu and customizable salads. Their weaknesses include a high price point, limited brand recognition, and the quality varies across franchises. They have opportunities in menu diversification and offering meal delivery services. Some threats they may face are competition from fast food competitors, changing consumer preferences, and possible supply chain disruptions. Lastly, we have Chop Leaf. Their strengths include having fresh ingredients, customizable salads, and a focus on local sourcing. Their weaknesses are having limited market presence, their brand awareness challenges, and the pricing perception. They have opportunities in expanding into urban markets, having menu innovation, and possible partnerships with fitness brands. And some of the threats they face are intense competition, economic downturn, and supply chain disruption. Next, we have the legal and regulatory environment. Dion's is going to have to look at permits and licenses, things that have to do with their business, health, food handling, building permits that may be needed. They're going to have to adhere to food safety standards and comply to Canadian food safety regulations, as well as the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. They're going to look at the cost of compliance, how much it's going to cost them to obtain those permits, licenses, and to be able to meet those food safety standards. And they're going to have to allocate resources to avoid legal issues. They're also going to have to pay attention to local regulations, which are going to vary between provinces and cities. After trying expat managers, another way to really solidify Dion's in Canada would be franchising. And this is helpful because they'll have cultural insight, which means that they have knowledge of consumer presence, cultural nuances, and regulatory requirements. They have established networks, which means they have better connections with suppliers, distributors, and industry contacts. Their community connection is stronger, and they're going to be able to build that brand loyalty and cooperations with local organizations. There's risk mitigation, meaning that they share the risk with the franchisor and other local partners. Lastly, there's accelerated growth. Collaboration will allow for rapid expansions into multiple locations in Canada. When Dion's is operating in a new country like Canada, their products and service might have to change. So some of those adaptations include menu adjustments, like doing Canadian-inspired dishes or ingredients, vegetarian and vegan options, seasonal offerings, and adjusting portion sizing. Their pricing strategy might also have to change. They need to look at their competitors and analyze that. They need to value perceptions and possibly offer promotional offers. Their service model will include things like having friendly and attentive service, being efficient, cultural sensitivity, especially, and technological integration. And a really important one is maintaining their core values like quality ingredients, authenticity, and community engagement. Something really important Dion's is going to have to focus on is their marketing and promotion. Some of the things they could do are social media campaigns, doing local advertising, having community engagement events. That kind of ties in with local partnerships and sponsorships. They're really proud of their community engagement and helping out, so they could really establish that. They can also do special offers and rely on online review and their reputation management. The last thing we're going to cover is operational considerations. The first thing is supply chain management, and the second would be local staffing, which would include recruitment, like connecting with local employment agencies and job boards, conducting interviews to assess qualifications and fit, while also being diverse and inclusive. Next would be their training, like making sure their employees have menu knowledge, good customer service, and operational procedures. They should support their team in their development opportunities while also offering cultural sensitivity training. Lastly, their integration. They want a smooth integration into existing teams. They want a supportive work environment and have open communication channels. Thank you so much for listening to our international business plan on expanding Dion's to Canada.